Hey guys, how's it going today? So, as promised, I'll be giving my out of the theater, more in depth review of Supergirl, directed by Craig Gillespie and starring Millie Alcock as Supergirl, David Cornsweet in like a cameo appearance as Superman, Jason Momoa as Lobo, David Holmcrumps as Creme of the Yellow Cremes, and I think the guy who plays Bernard in the Santa Claus, he's actually Supergirl's father. So I gave a more in kind of generic, more out of the theater reaction with my short review, but I want to be more in depth with this. Let me just fix my mic right here. So, 1 second. Hold on 1 second. There we go. That's better. Sorry. Yeah, so that's better. So yeah, Supergirl. So I went in expecting. I had just watched Superman again this morning, or like the last few days, and half of them did like this morning and stuff. And I remember watching Superman, and I was like, there's a lot of the pacing I found that was like very rapid pace. This is kind of the opposite of this, that where Superman is like, there's no real build up. There's kind of just text to where what happens in the movie, and then you're kind of just thrown into that world. Supergirl is kind of just like different things happening and flashbacks back and forth, and it feels as though it's very edited wise in the editing bay about what's happening with story. But that being said, and it feels kind of like Thor: The Dark World of the DCU heroes. So it's very more drab and kind of editing out of the place because how the story goes necessarily and cutting things back and forth. But Millie Alcock as Supergirl, she's really good. Like I said, David, who the guy from the Santa Claus who plays her father from Krypton. There was some stuff in Krypton that was actually quite good that expanded the lore that I've never actually seen in Man of Steel. Man of Steel kind of showed to a degree of before the place was destroyed, but this actually kind of showed more of the science behind Krypton and expanded the world of the DC and the super family, which I found really interesting. Um, but I gotta say, the highlight of this movie is freaking Jason Momoa as Lobo because oh my god! So my friend, well, Brody, I don't know if you're watching this, but friend of Brody, friend of my friend Sam, about 15 years ago, he's like, you know what? It's like I'm not really a fan of DC or Marvel comics, but he's like, you know what? If there was one character they would adapt to film that I really love to see, it's Lobo. And I'm like, so that Lobo. So the last 15 years, it's kind of been in my head. I'm like, why is Lobo so great? Jason Momoa essentially takes what is a dive bar pirate Jack Sparrow, big fat bounty hunting mercenary Jack Sparrow that doesn't give any shits, but is kind hearted to a degree that is brutal, ruthless, throwing one liners, and he's just this engaging character. By the end of the movie, and I'm like, I need to see more of Lobo because they really did a cool thing is that when I saw some of the trailers, it just showed Jason Momoa's eyes, but they enhanced his eyes and his facial feature to make it look more comic booky, but with his build and his suit, and it was just like I was really impressed when they did Lobo. So yeah, Millie Alcock did a really good job of showing the alter version of say how you would do Superman, where Superman's all like justice and peace, and she's kind of like she can kind of see through the bull of some people and kind of get an idea around that. That was really good. The the guy probably did his best job, but a lot of the movie was like he's like, I'm gonna get you, Supergirl. I'm just like a lot of that, and I'm like, that kind of took me out of it. And to be honest, I use this as one of my Cineplex passes, so it didn't really cost me any extra because I knew I had other things coming up, and I was curious to see how the DCU was going forward. It may not be the best superhero film in the last few years, but there are elements of it that are good that made me excited for where they could go. Because let's put it this way: so when the DCU was happening, there were story crumbs between different things, right? But I never really felt that in that universe they really had a plan and setting things up. It was kind of like that Wonder Woman had this, Flash had that. And so what do you think? Batman vs Superman kind of set that up, but it was very rushed. I feel as though that like the origin of Marvel years ago, that you have Superman, you have Supergirl, you have Lanterns, you have Clayface. They are doing the building bridges of this universe. Now, some of them may not hit, but what works really well is the world building in Supergirl and Superman, the world building of those, and the actors, because they have cast these actors perfectly as these characters, and that which makes me more interested. If the actors weren't really that great, I'd be like, I don't really care for the DCU. But Millie Alcock's great, Jason Momoa's great, David Cornswood as Superman is great. So if you have those three elements of an inspiring world you want to go back to, even if the movie isn't that great, those two elements for me are like, I'm looking forward to seeing Superman Man of Tomorrow next year. I'm looking forward to seeing Green Lanterns, what they're going to do. Maybe James could maybe take a bit more creative thing and be like, okay, we'll see the universe more, maybe do more crowd control, like what with Marvel's been doing with Kevin Feige with Marvel and stuff. So yeah, those are my more out of the theater thoughts of Supergirl. I did like it to a degree, but not as much as say Superman or not as much as other superhero films. But yeah, so maybe if you want to watch it on Crave or something like that, or streaming on HBO Max later in the year, or see clips, or see it for Jason Momoa's Lobo, you'll enjoy it. But it's either like a stream it, a skip it, or a library, kind of all thrown in together. So those are my immediate reactions. So coming up next is that I'm definitely going to have reviews of Toy Story 5 and then something else in between that I'm not really quite sure. And then coming up, I've got reviews of The Odyssey in IMAX and then Spider Man Brand New Day. So, yeah, like and subscribe for more movie reviews. Stay tuned to my channel. Let me know what your favorite element, what your favorite DC comics are inspired by this, what you're forward to look to the DC universe. And yeah, like and subscribe for more movie reviews. Thanks.